In this video, I'm going to answer the question, should I be designing in CMYK or should I be designing in RGB for print on demand? I'm going to show you why I choose to design in CMYK. Let's go. Thanks for joining me on this video. My name is Juna with Detour Shirts. I've been designing and selling t-shirts online since 2005, and I want to help you to learn how to design and sell t-shirts online. In this video, I want to answer the question that a lot of people have when they're starting print on demand, and that is, should I be designing for CMYK or using the colors CMYK or using RGB colors? And I like to use CMYK, and I'm going to show you in this video exactly why I choose CMYK. I know a lot of the t-shirt places, the print on demand sites say that you should be designing in RGB, but that's only the final product. And so the PNG files are actually going to be RGB, so I'm not going to change that. I'm not going to do a CMYK PNG file. It's still going to be a PNG file, but I'm going to show you why I start off with CMYK and then it turns into RGB. So there's a lot to go into here. First, let's talk about what CMYK and RGB are. CMYK is the easiest to understand. It's a lot like when you did painting in grade school when you're mixing the colors. Remember back in grade school, red plus blue equals purple, yellow plus blue equals green, and that's kind of the same way that CMYK works, but with different colors. So in this case, magenta plus cyan equals blue. You can see they're kind of mixing together. Yellow and cyan gets this green color, kind of like yellow and blue. Yellow and magenta makes red, and so on. So this is the way that's really a lot easier for us to understand, at least for me, to understand how this works. And this is how printing presses work. So if we went to a big printing press that prints magazines, or even some smaller printers at home, you might have these little CMYK colors for your printer at home. So each one, as you put more and more colors, this is the cyan plate, the magenta plate after it, it puts on this, and the yellow, and as you put all these together, you get a full color picture. So that's how it works for CMYK, and this works for a lot for print stuff. So think of this as printing, printing magazines, brochures, paper at home, or even t-shirts, right? So RGB, red, green, blue, is totally the opposite of it. So you might have seen these red, green, blue canisters in like big TVs or monitors and stuff. Back in the day, there were these giant TVs that you could actually see the red, green, and blue lights shining up to making a picture. This is how RGB works with light. So anything on a monitor, anything on TV, these kinds of things, the monitor that you're looking at to watch this video, RGB, right? Your phone, RGB. So any of these digital products with light, it uses light. That's how RGB works. So you can see in this chart right here, RGB is the direct opposite of CMYK. They actually do the exact opposite. So when you have red, green, and blue and you put them all together, you get white light. And when you put all these colors together, the CMYK process, you get black. So the exact opposite of it. One of the things to remember, easy way to remember, is CMYK is for printed products like we saw in the printing press. RGB are for digital products like we saw on the TV and the monitor and the phone and things like that. So of course for printing, since we're printing t-shirts and those are printed on a big printer, we're going to want to use CMYK. And that's one big reason why I choose CMYK. The other reason is CMYK is a subset of RGB. So there are some colors, if you look at this color spectrum here, this color wheel, RGB takes up a lot more space. There's a lot more colors for RGB, and you could, by accident, pick a bright RGB color that would not translate to CMYK. And so that could happen if you pick some of these bright colors. When you try and print it, or when the printer tries to print it on the t-shirt, it won't be the same. It would be something else. And I'm going to show you what happens to it in Affinity Designer in a little bit. But here's an example of some of the colors that you would see in RGB and how it would translate to CMYK. You can see just a little more dull. So some of the bright blues, the bright greens, the bright reds are not going to print as bright in CMYK, but because you can't do it in CMYK. CMYK only has a limited amount of colors that can print, and because of the way they mix colors, it's not using that light like RGB is. It doesn't have that brightness that RGB does. So just be very careful if you're designing in RGB. You don't want to pick these bright colors that cannot be reproduced in CMYK, which is why I like to choose CMYK, because I know I'm going to be safe. So you may be thinking, well, I don't use RGB colors, I use hex colors. Well, hex colors are RGB colors. So you can see right here, you may see a 6-digit number letter kind of thing for hex colors like these right here. The first two represent R for red, the second two are for the green, and the last two are for blue. And we're using hexadecimal numbers, so 0 to 9 and then A through F. And so F is the highest that you can go for these hexadecimal numbers. FF is the highest. So if you are using hex colors in your designs, these colors like this right here, these are also RGB colors. So the first two represent R, red, the second two G, and the last two B, if you did not know this. So you got F and F, which is the highest, and that's all red. That's only red and no green and no blue. So 0 and 0. Can see here. So by putting them all together, we saw that it turned white. That's all red, all green, all blue makes white. And the opposite of that is 0. No red, no green, no blue. That's black right here. You can see mixing, like we said, red and green, full red and full green, you get yellow. Here's that green right here, just green gives you that lime. And then you have blue right here, right? Full F and F on blue right here. So hex colors are RGB colors, and some of these, like these bright fuchsia right here and some bright reds, cannot be reproduced like they are in RGB for CMYK. So another reason to not use hex colors when designing for CMYK. At least don't use the hex colors that are super bright, right? You got to know which ones not to use. So you can still use hex colors as long as they fall into the CMYK. So you can see again here on this chart, the CMYK colors are a subset of the RGB colors. So don't use these ones way out here to the edges. You're going to want to keep in here more dull. So the reason why I like using CMYK, when I change it to a PNG file, they're automatically changed to RGB, but that's okay because they're changing to the RGB colors that are inside of this CMYK. These are still RGB colors, right? They're just limited RGB colors. So that was just a real quick lesson on how RGB and CMYK work and kind of how they fit into the total color spectrum of colors that we see. I'm going to show you what happens in Affinity Designer. Now you can do this in Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever, but I'm going to show you the CMYK slider and then the RGB slider and show you what happens to the colors when I change it from RGB to CMYK, so you can see the difference, what would happen on a printed shirt. All right, so here I am in Affinity Designer. Like I said, you can do this in any of them. We have the RGB palette here. You can see RGB, RGB hex. I also have CMYK. Let's do RGB first to see what happens. I'm going to turn these off, select all of these here, make sure there's no stroke. We're going to make this first one all red, the second one here all green, just full green, full blue. So this is the brightest blue, the brightest red, and the brightest green. So I'm going to copy these and bring it down here, and I'm going to change these to CMYK, and let's see if they can still keep this brightness. So here I'm going to do CMYK. Now it looks like it's keeping its brightness, right? It says 0, 100, 100. Let's really change it to 100, and you can see there when I clicked on it, now it's truly 0, 100, 100, 0. You can see it's just a little bit lighter, duller, right? It's not as bright, and that's because CMYK can't get that bright. So you might have heard of out of gamut, and that's what this means. It's outside of the color range that CMYK can do. So it can only do this kind of a dull. Now let's see what happens to the green. You probably can guess. now that we're here in green, you can see it says 62 and 100, but watch when I actually click 62. This is 62 and 100, not even close, right? So you can see a little more dull. This blue here says 8877. This is what happens when it's 8877. Very different color, right? So this is the CMYK version of RGB. Now again, if I took something even brighter like we saw in our example, so remember we had that fuchsia which was FF00FF, so let's do that as the hex code here. So let's do FF here. Super bright, right? Watch what happens when I make it a CMYK version. It says 2782, 2782. That's as bright. So the reason why I do it in CMYK is if you made your designs all these colors and put it on a t-shirt and then people saw it and it's like this nice bright glowing t-shirt, maybe for Cinco de Mayo or for you know, some other holiday where you want bright colors, when someone gets the shirt, they're actually going to get these colors and not these colors, because shirts print at CMYK. Even though we saved it as RGB, when they print, they're going to have to print, because that's the process of making it a print, is to print it in CMYK. It's going to revert back to CMYK and it's going to try and get it close, but this is as close as it's going to get for CMYK. So why not just start building in CMYK? If you can't, like in Canva, I don't think you can design in CMYK. I think it automatically designs in RGB, but make sure just not to pick the brightest colors. So you can see they're close, but if you want to get this really bright color, you can't do it. This really bright blue, this really bright green, not going to happen, right? So hopefully this example works, as you can see the difference on what I'm doing. Try it for yourself, see what colors are in CMYK that's also in RGB and make those work. So that is it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully this answers the question once and for all why I like to choose CMYK. Now you can do whatever you want, but those are the reasons why I choose CMYK, is because I don't want to have the printer trying to print something that you can't print, and then I want to show the customer that it's super bright when it's not actually going to be super bright. So I design in CMYK, I save it as a PNG like everybody else, and that does change it to RGB, but those RGB colors are now part of that CMYK circle, which I know for a fact they can print. So I'm not guessing if they can print or not. And it stays truer to what you're gonna actually get at the end product when it turns back to CMYK and gets printed on t-shirts or mugs or whatever the print is. Whatever print you're doing, they're gonna use that CMYK process. So hopefully that makes sense. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope this video was really helpful for you. If it was, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed already, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and don't forget about that notification bell so you can be notified of my videos when they come out. And another thing that really helps out is sharing this video. So if you know somebody that wants to know the difference between CMYK and RGB, make sure to share this video with them so they can see why I choose CMYK. The question of the day for this video is, have you designed in CMYK before? Let me know that in the comments and why you do it. Love to hear your reasoning why you do it. And thanks again for watching. And if you want to see more videos on how to design t-shirts, make sure to click on these videos right here. And as always, guys, keep creating and keep learning. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.